Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Refounding Fathers. I'm joined here with Ryan. I'm Levi, and a special welcome to y'all. Welcome to our FBI agent. Today we're going to cover some topics for the day and get our opinion out there. So the first thing on the docket is Christmas commercialization and how it's bullshit. You want to kick this off?
Yeah, I'll give it a go. So, this is one of those that kind of kills me about not the holiday spirit or anything like that. It's the, when you look around and you see the actual, this is just one of the points. When you see the government spending money on putting up trees and decorations for the city and all this other stuff, it's commercialization in process. And it's got its ups and downs, I guess. I absolutely love everything about the family time I get to spend at Christmas. My problem with it is Christmas commercially should feel more like Thanksgiving. Everyone should be gathering around and be happy just to be able to have a meal with the people that they consider their loved ones. But we've kind of fallen in this weird way where I've got to hear a whole damn month worth of Christmas music on every radio station that exists, and I'm influenced to buy the best gift for blah blah blah, this, that, or the other, and I could go to my family's normal Christmas thing every year and never receive a single present and still love it. And the reason I know I could do that, and I would probably love it more or equally or more. And I know I could because Thanksgiving is probably my favorite family holiday.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. Thanksgiving is a time when no one expects anything from you. You can just show up. You may be asked to bring like a platter or something for everyone to enjoy. But that's just common courtesy. But there's not an expectation for you to give everyone gifts. There's not an expectation to be in a good mood. There's not an expectation for you to let discourse and discussions of politics aside because you're supposed to be in a good mood. You're supposed to think this. You're supposed to think that. I don't think that buying gifts for each other is a bad thing. I think it's a great tradition, but I think that it is bad for, as a society, to basically enforce those types of standards.
Especially considering, a lot of people, I'll break this down a little bit further before I go into that. So, I am not allowed to say something, or it's not that I'm not allowed to, but people look down on saying things like Merry Christmas versus Happy Holidays because they think it leaves a certain religion out or all the people who aren't of your religion specifically out, and this is based specifically on Christianity. If you're not a Christian, you're getting left out of this whole holiday, blah, 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 this, that, or the other. Then why is it that we are not allowed to say Merry Christmas or look down upon for saying things like Merry Christmas versus Happy Holidays when even the majority of non-religious people celebrate Christmas? Like, we're skewing things at the very level of the semantics of Christmas. So you can imagine, what?
Ingsoc. 1984, doublespeak.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The new language.
You're violating language, which is violating the actual idea of the holiday before you've even violated the holiday. So, even on a semantics level, we're fucking Christmas up already.
And Christmas is a very complicated holiday because, yeah, Christianity does technically own it. But, historically speaking, Santa Claus was literally Odin. That's where Santa comes from, is from the Norse god. It's a weird combination of several different religions and traditions that have, and not in a bad way, have come to dominate this time of year. Because it's the most miserable time of the year. People need to be okay with the cold because yeah, I step out of my car and I'm freezing for the 10-minute walk to my grandma's house, and it's miserable. But I know when I get there, there's going to be a slice of pecan pie and a glass of wine for me, and my entire family will be there. But it's become too complicated. It's become too commercialized. People in private businesses or people in like large businesses and chains, the workers there aren't really allowed, like Ryan was saying, they're not allowed to say Merry Christmas or anything anymore. I don't think it should be about the person you're saying it to. It's a blessing whether or not the person agrees with the religion that's behind it. I used to know a guy, a really good guy, who didn't like saying bless you because he was an atheist. And my argument to him was, hey, it's not the religious tradition behind it, it's the meaning the person gives to you. It's not, yeah, the person may be a Christian, may be saying, God bless you if you sneeze. He's not saying, I defy your religious beliefs. I want my God to bless you because you don't believe in him, kind of thing. It's literally just a person-to-person agreement, like, hey, you know what? Good luck, man.
It's a person-to-person courtesy.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, it was a thing. It's been a while since I've seen anything on this, but like I've seen a couple people actually get mad, and I've seen it in the news as well, where people have gotten mad over doors being opened for them, and I think that boiled down to when third wave feminism was kind of at its peak,
Oof.
and I think that's kind of some of the problems we're facing nowadays in different sectors. Someone is holding a door open for you to be courteous. Not because they think you're a woman and can't open the door yourself. Like,
Dude,
that's
I open doors
retarded to assume that they think you're too weak to... I mean, that has a lot to do with self-reflection, I think, at that point. Obviously, you're probably insecure in certain ways that lead you to believe a way like that.
Yeah.
I think the issue with the commercialization when it comes to America on Christmas is... It's not even that it's a slippery slope. It's a weak point in people. This is a time where everyone is influenced to try and be happy and cheerful, but when you start adding extra lists onto the requirements of Christmas, they feel like they're obliged to spend a crap ton of their money, and they've got to have the perfect gift, and it's all pushed down through media, which is bought out by businesses, which is pushing this consume kind of mentality. And like I said, I think a Christmas more similar to Thanksgiving would be a better Christmas. Not that I had any problem with this Christmas. Honestly, I had an amazing Christmas. I got to video chat my brother who's in Kosovo, who's probably listening to this right now. Good luck out there. Can't wait to have you back. But I got to video chat with him for like 2 whole damn hours, and we all opened presents together. And it was nice on the family level. I loved every second of that. It was beautiful. But I feel like we're starting to lose the idea behind Christmas in the sense of, listen, you can be whoever the hell you are and however the hell you want to be on Christmas. Stop assuming you've got to do these things just because the media and mass consumerism has pushed you to continue to obey and consume.
Yeah, my grandfather grew up during the Great Depression. He said every Christmas they would only get 3 things. They would get an apple, an orange, and a candy cane per child. That was it. And the look on his face wasn't one of, I wish we had been richer. I'm sure he would have. Everyone wants to be richer. Even the rich want to be richer. But he never said it in a way that felt like he was disappointed in his family, because he wasn't focused on menial things like the value of a gift that he was given. It was more of a, my family's here, we're all enjoying our time together, and that they're at peace, even though they were living in one of the hardest times that we can really understand now, because anything before that's a lot harder to understand because too much time has passed. we can all understand, like, the Great Depression was absolutely awful. We still know that as a fact. So, it's just interesting to think of things from that perspective of, I'm dirt poor, I'm suffering, my family's suffering, but you know what? I got my son an orange for Christmas, and we're just enjoying time together.
And when people look at you and say something like, "Come on, smile. It's Christmas time." Don't be shitty about it. They don't want you to smile because they know anything about you. They want you to, that was a sympathy towards you. That was a, be happy. You're here. You're alive. This is a time in which we are trying to be grateful for the things we have. That was a sympathy towards them wanting you to be happy, not telling you, it's impolite for, this is going back to the third wave feminism thing, but it's impolite, or not impolite, but it's unattractive for women not to smile. No one fucking cares about that kind of sense. When people tell you to smile, it's because they're wanting you to be happy. That is the sympathy they're trying to get across. However, we're all horribly socially awkward in this world nowadays because you walk by 600 million people a day and don't even address them like you would 100 years ago.
Yeah, there is actually science behind even doing something as small as smiling releases dopamine into your bloodstream. So, like, if you're horribly depressed, try and smile for like a minute. You might feel better. And then do push-ups, because that will definitely make you feel better.
Do push-ups.
Do push-ups.
No, that was actually a really good study Vsauce did. He's got I guess I wouldn't say new, it's probably been a while. I just hadn't seen him for a while, and then I watched all of his new stuff.
Yeah.
He's got Minefield out now. And he does a lot of interesting studies about psychology and stuff, and I enjoy the hell out of them. But one of the things he did was he had people hold a pencil in between their teeth in such a way that it mimicked the shape of a smile, and then he had another group of people hold a pencil between their lips in which a way the muscle structure held almost the shape of a frown. And according to this study, based on the answers they gave after being given a happy task and a disgusting task that they had to do while holding this pencil, the people who had the pencil in their teeth mimicking a smile had better things to say about everything. Everyone was more happy about the task they did. Smiling is psychologically rooted inside of you. There's a lot of things about that, things like that in life. There are certain ways that you can force yourself to just be happier. I noticed in traffic, one of the things that I hate the most. Traffic is like the worst thing in the world for me. Probably because I've been driving a manual for the past 5 years now. I've had a manual for longer than I've had any other kind of car. Traffic is horrible. And it pisses me off and I lose my shit. But I notice when someone pisses me off in traffic, if I force myself to smile, I actually end up laughing about the thing that they did. It forces my mentality to change about it. But that's a different topic entirely.
And going back to the whole Christmas thing, this might sound a little conspiratorial, but I think it's legitimate. I think the reason why the government harps on pushing Christmas like it does is to make tax revenue.
Oh, no. Okay, so I saw what you wrote down there. I totally understand what you're saying now.
Yeah.
No, that makes perfect sense. The more money you spend, the more money they receive.
Yep.
Because every transaction requires taxes.
And that's why it's worthwhile for them to put up Christmas decorations throughout the town, because those Christmas decorations, compared to the millions of dollars even your county is making off of whatever weird sales tax the county applies or whatever, like the amount of money they make from that pales in comparison, or the cost of the decorations pales in comparison to the amount of money that they're making.
Oh, and you also got to think, if they get you in the mentality that you need to be able to buy things and do all the stuff, last minute Christmas shopping and all those things, that helps businesses stay open later hours and keep people on Christmas Eve and Christmas. And you know where the government makes more money than sales taxes? Income taxes. So if you have workers working, the government's making more money off of them than they are off of sales taxes that are going on.
And if you spend too much at Christmas and go bankrupt, now you're relying on government support completely.
Holy shit, they've worked this one out. But I think that's actually gonna push us into the little things in life.
Yes. We have a topic list that's completely out of order. We're just kind of seeing which topics lead into which. So, if you not only want to become a more self-sufficient person, but you also hate paying taxes on everything and want to deprive the government of even the most you possibly can, just out of spite, little things in life might be able to help you out.
Well, you don't even just need to be angry and spiteful and deprive the government of money. If you feel like your tax dollars are being used improperly, which I believe the majority of Americans nowadays believe, and I think I've got a study to back that up in a topic we'll talk about later.
Yep.
That's the best way to do it. If you believe your taxes are being used improperly, I'm not going to tell you to break the law and stop paying taxes. What I am going to tell you to do is do the little things that will stop you from paying taxes that are legal. If you'd like to jump into that a little bit.
Yeah, so let's say you go to a supermarket and a potato costs $1. State sales taxes and government sales taxes, like there's so many taxes, I don't even want to get into it, but Georgia has a 6% sales tax. I don't think Georgia is using my tax money appropriately. So instead of buying that $1 potato and 6 cents out of that $1 potato going to the state, grow your own potatoes. Simple as that. You don't want to have to spend taxes buying beer? Make your own beer.
And now, this is one of those things where it is a process. I'm not expecting you to turn your house into an off-the-grid location over the course of 60 days and never pay taxes again, because you won't never pay taxes again. You still own property, so you still got to pay taxes.
Not until our tax plan goes into effect.
Not until our tax plan goes into effect, but we're working on that one. But what we're trying to get through here is it's the small stuff you can do now. It's the stuff you can start with that will not only, because we've talked about this before as well, hard work and doing things yourself is so dopamine releasing. You feel so good eating the potatoes you grew in your backyard in a 55-gallon drum barrel that are sitting out in the backyard in the sun.
In the middle of your suburban neighborhood.
Than you would eating the potatoes you bought. And it's a action reward thing going on. Yeah. You did this thing and it makes you feel good. Now you're willing to go another step. You're willing to say, hey, fuck it. You know what? We grew all our own potatoes, which, this is one thing that it's kind of important to me. I eat a lot of potatoes. My family eats a decent bit of potatoes. Potatoes are a big part of our diet. So that's why I'm using this as reference. If we grew all of our own potatoes one year, and then we decided, hey, you know what? We did that. We fed ourselves a portion of our diet, maybe not a huge portion, but a decent portion of our diet. We provided ourselves. Let's take that one a step further. What else can we do? We can grow onions and tomatoes and we can all the things that grow from the ground, we can start developing ourselves in our backyard, and then we can make a system for it, and it can be self-sustaining to an effect. And then, I'm not saying everyone owns enough property to raise cows and bacon that way.
We don't expect you to.
Or raise cows and eat steak, pigs and eat bacon.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is the little things will become so rewarding, you'll be willing to do more. And you'll want to do more. And then, all of a sudden, who knows, 15 years down the road, you look around and you go, holy shit, I'm only paying sales tax this year. I am giving the government the only money that they can deem worthy to get from me. The only thing I can't not pay. Because I have made everything myself. I bought the solar panels and put them on my roof, and I'm actually selling the power back to the fucking company. Like, I'm doing everything I can to make sure they don't use my money improperly.
I'm taking local businesses' grease traps and turning it into biodiesel for my truck.
Or, I mean, it doesn't even have to be. I mean, biodiesel, that's an interesting one. And I think that's an.
I don't know enough.
Not a lot of people do a lot of stuff
well.
on that. I don't know a lot about it being used in cars. I think it's a huge possibility of it being dirtier.
Yeah, it's definitely meant for more simplistic engines.
Oh, totally. But, or maybe not simplistic, but
rugged.
Yeah, you've got to change a lot to make it biodiesel.
But that was just.
But I understand what you're getting at. You can. Oh, you want to have, maybe you've got a gas fire pit outside. You can totally use oil instead to start a fire. Grease oil to start a fire. Oil that was already produced CO2 and all that stuff, and to create it because it was the oil from the fucking bacon that was being fried, and you know what I'm saying. You can use everything to the fullest extent of its use if you do more shit yourself. If you learn, we have the whole fucking internet.
Yeah.
Which is such an amazing resource that everyone's like retarded to not use nowadays. You can become a craftsman. You can become a skilled worker. You can know mechanics and electricity and woodworking and carpentry better than I do now. Even if you know nothing, simply because you have used the internet to learn the theory behind the skill and then put it to practice and figured out how it works.
So I'm going to challenge our very small but growing viewership here. I, for one, spend an atrocious amount of time on YouTube. I'll call it 1 hour a day, just because there's funny things I want to watch. There's informative things I want to watch. There's educational things I want to watch.
I definitely spend more time than that, but
yeah, I was just saying
same ideal or same reasons behind it.
Yeah, and it's not just for entertainment for me. I actually I do use it to actually learn valuable skills. My challenge to you is if you spend an hour on YouTube or an hour on the internet, period, spend 10 minutes researching a simple task that you don't know anything about. I don't know how to change a tire because my dad didn't teach me. Learn how to change a tire for your specific car, because every car, each model a little bit different.
Yeah,
I mean, ideas.
Some have like locking lugs and some don't and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, so my dad taught me a decent bit about mechanics and how to work on cars and all that stuff. And one day I was driving my car and some asshole in a blue sports car that I couldn't even recognize because he was going so fast came across the road sideways, taking up both lanes. I freaked out and pulled my car up over the curb. But I hit it at such an angle it broke the control arm on the front axle, front right side, or front right tire of my car. And I get home, I limped that thing home. It hardly made it, because it also messed the tire way the fuck up. And I get home and I was like, Dad, this thing happened. And he was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to find the control arm for you. I will do everything I can to help you. He's like, I'm going to find the control arm online. You're going to give me the money for it. I will make sure it's the right one and all this stuff. And he bought it, and it came in the next day, or maybe it was the day after. And when it came in, I show up and he hands me the box and he goes, this is your control arm. Go fix it. He stood there to make sure I didn't hurt myself. I was fairly young at the time, and messing around with certain parts on cars, you can get yourself hurt pretty easily. He stood there to make sure I was okay, but he did not help. I had to replace the control arm myself, and that was one of the things I had never had it done and I had never seen done. Well, guess what? YouTube is an amazing resource. well, I wouldn't even say YouTube in itself, but the internet in general is an amazing resource, and you can find almost any bit of information that you seek to know on it.
Yeah.
And I changed that control arm, the spring, the what's it called, the shock spring there, bounced out and scared the crap out of me because I didn't do it right, and when I was taking it off, and it was a little bit of a process, and it took some time and effort, but I learned to do it myself, and I saved money that I didn't have. Because if I went to take that to a shop, I would have been in the negative on money.
Yep. And it doesn't even have to be anything, say, manly. I wouldn't say, yeah, you have to look up car stuff. You have to look up how to build a fire. You have to look up how to shoot a gun, how to fish, how to do all these things. Like, it can be as simple as learning how to sew a patch of clothing back on. Learning how to basket weave. Like, just something to make your waste of time valuable to your knowledge base.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I learned, this is not anything I would consider quote-unquote manly. I'm glad I fucking know how to do it, though. I have an electric stovetop. It's a glass electric stovetop. I didn't know how to clean it properly.
Mm-hmm.
I had to look that up, and I watched 6 different videos on the way to clean it. And I figured out that I didn't want to go to the store and buy the glass stovetop cleaner, so I had to figure out a way to make my own.
Yep.
And that's what I did. I watched 6 different videos, understood a couple things about different compounds that help clean it, and formulated my own based on that. And now my stovetop doesn't look like shit when you walk into my house, so I don't look like a damn bum.
Yeah. Ryan also went down like a 6-hour rabbit trails on researching how spiders worked, so there's that.
Yeah, I like Wikipedia, and if I'm super bored and have nothing else to do, or I'm stuck somewhere that I have to like sit and wait for something, I'll just anything that remotely interests me, I'll look up the Wikipedia article and I'll read the whole thing, and then I'll visit some of its what's it called, the links at the bottom to learn some more about stuff. I've read the whole Wikipedia article on octopuses, spiders, all kinds of different things.
Have you heard about the Wikipedia game?
Game?
Yeah, there's actually a game for Wikipedia. So basically, what you do is you get 2 or more people, and you hit random on Wikipedia. And if you hit random on Wikipedia, it takes you to a random article. Well, the game is to see who can get to Adolf Hitler's page first. So it's a timed race by using the links in the articles.
The original Wikipedia article.
Yep, to get to Adolf Hitler. It's pretty fun.
Well, there's a theory about that. I can't remember what, or not theory, but it's a law or some other scientific practice, something or other.
Not butterfly effect, but everything is...
It's a law that states at some point in time, if people are left talking for a long enough period of time about a certain topic, Adolf Hitler will come up. No matter what you're talking about, eventually Adolf Hitler will come up.
I'm usually the one to bring him up. I should probably stop that.
Well,
He's in Argentina, I swear.
Swears. Well, I don't know. He might be dead now, but...
Yeah, maybe. Anyway.
So, we'll use that as
a
reason to bring up something else. So we've got, I really think we should talk about law before we go into age restrictions. We could go into the deficit poll there. This will probably be pretty brief anyway.
All right, so what Ryan was saying about most Americans don't agree their taxes are being spent appropriately. We have a study.
So I just have the screenshot that I took from the article itself. But the screenshot of this article right here says, a Pew Research Center poll conducted, which they're actually pretty reputable. I would say very reputable. Conducted earlier this month found that 53% of Americans view the federal budget deficit as a very big problem facing the country. And that ended up being a larger share of the public than the portion that views terrorism as a big problem, which was 39%, racism as a big problem, which was 43%, or climate change as a problem, which was 48%. So, out of all the people that were polled, more people said that the deficit, the unbalanced budget, the ability for our government to just fucking spend and waste money like it means nothing to them, because it doesn't, was more important than terrorism, racism, and climate change. However, we are still fighting fucking wars for terrorism that spend shit tons of money a year for terrorism. We are still... I don't know how much money we're spending on the racism front. I don't know how much the government...
It goes into our last topic.
Okay, that goes into another topic. We'll bring that topic up in a minute. So the government definitely does spend money on racism.
A lot of money.
Then, they also deemed that worse than climate change. And I'm someone who originally was not very climate change or save the trees, and I have recently... I wouldn't even say recently. Over the course of the past couple of years, I have become way more save the trees. I mean, I'm an outdoorsman, and I love being outdoors and all that stuff, and I have come to the conclusion that we're fucking some things up, and we could be doing things way fucking better. But even then, with the people who are... the large group of people who consider themselves, like, eco-fucking terrorists, which I guess would also fall in terrorism, they deem the deficit a bigger problem. And I don't disagree with them for a fucking second.
No. But I do want to play devil's advocate for a second. I remember a man that I know in Georgia. I think he still has a radio show. His name was Herman Cain. Still isn't Herman Cain. He's not dead. Great man. I met him. Good guy. Don't agree with everything he says, but as an overall human being, great guy. I remember him going on a rant about the government spending about $11 million on snail sex, and he was pretty pissed off about it. He went on like a 10-minute rant, which, at face value, I agreed with. Yeah, the government shouldn't be spending that type of money on snail sex, but if I told you that the government spent $11 million on researching mold, most people probably feel the same way. Why the fuck did the government spend $11 million on mold? What if I told you that $11 million found penicillin? Now, I'm not saying the government should be spending this money to research things that are retarded. I think it should be privatized. Private people should be investing in these things that will advance us technologically. But there are some times in which really, really small asinine things that have proper funding to be researched do bring around world-changing products and technology.
And I agree, but like you said, it should be privatized.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's the first thing that brings everything in this conversation to a halt. The government shouldn't be the one spending this money. There are other people, there are plenty of people pouring shit tons of money into research. And I mean, this country, on a non-governmental level, comes out with more scientific paperwork and PhDs and all kinds of different shit than the majority of any other country. Yes. Like, we are the top of this field. We do not need to take the money I deemed, or that I think should be going towards my roads, to researching something that I don't necessarily agree with, or might agree with, but didn't give them the okay to do.
Right.
And I'm so happy that I found this poll, because it does make me it gives me some hope. The fact that there are other people out there actually looking and going, the majority of people don't think the government is spending money right. Well, because it isn't. But also, like, it's just, I don't know, they spend so retardedly. As someone who is in the military, and I have friends in governmental positions, and I've seen it from many different angles, the government doesn't do anything efficiently. So, giving them the money to do something, there is immediately a loss in money. You have immediately lost money for something that if you gave that to a private company to do, they would have done better with less money.
Yeah, pretty much. My take is that at this point we're so in debt we can't really do anything except wait for the inevitable. Every right-wing politician for the past 20 years has run on a campaign of we're going to reduce the budget, we're going to reduce the deficit, we're going to reduce the United States debt. It's only gotten astronomically worse.
Oh, well, see, because that's the thing. Every politician does that. Every politician who has ever run doesn't influence, hey, I want more debt. They say, oh, no, I want to come up with a understandable, simple tax plan that'll fix everything and will reduce the debt and the country will be amazing. But it's never fucking happened. How have we trusted the government to do something that everyone in the government has made a promise towards, but none of them have ever fucking done?
Because it always ends up being a plan. They have a plan to do something. No, you don't need a plan. You need to cut projects. You need to cut departments. You need to cut wages. You need to cut employees. In order to save this country financially, you have to ruin people's lives. You have to send, you're the Department of Agriculture. I'm not saying that department's not needed or not. I don't know. You're the Department of Agriculture. Yeah, you're all laid off. That sounds dumb. You spend $120 billion a year. You're done. You and your 12 million employees are now laid off. And it sucks because you have to ruin livelihoods, but it's the only way to fix it. You cannot keep the government as well staffed as it is and have so many projects, experiments, and departments without keeping the national debt increasing exponentially.
Now, I totally agree with you on the fact that you have to cut. You have to do these things. I think that's not the part that isn't true is the fact that you have to ruin livelihoods. You have to risk ruining livelihoods. If these people are so good that they are in high positions of the government, or if the government is hiring them in general, they better be fucking awesome because it's wasting our goddamn money for it. So if these awesome people that the government deems so qualified and good can't find jobs outside of the government, then I don't think they should have been there in the first place. So you have to risk ruining someone's life or livelihood. You don't have to ruin their livelihood.
Yeah.
You can get laid off and come back. You can get fired and come back. You can walk into work and tell your boss to go fuck himself and he can fire you on the spot and you can be totally fine if you are a valuable person who has a useful skill, especially for the money that we pay people. That I don't even get a say in where my money goes because we are completely, or at least my mentality is completely unrepresented in government.
Yeah. You would think that the government would hire people who could get hired if they lost their job because they should be that important that they're valuable to other entities.
And I know some people that are government workers that definitely are. But I can guarantee it's not all.
It is not the rule. Government employees. I know for a fact that I'm more valuable than a lot of government employees.
I know for a fact that I'm currently more valuable than the majority of government employees. I don't know if I'm more useful. I don't know if I have more capability and skill. However, I am currently more valuable than their position is, at least. Their position. Maybe not them as humans, but their position.
But you know what a big problem in giving a lot of useless people higher jobs? Affirmative action.
Oh, yeah. This is a hard one to tackle because you've got to be careful on your wording.
Yes.
This is some, what's his name there? The guy who only ate steak for a while. He was a college professor. He was real famous for a minute.
Jordan Peterson?
Jordan Peterson. This is like, you got to be Jordan Peterson to talk about this kind of shit without getting in trouble.
Yeah.
Because You have to mean every word you say and nothing else.
Yep.
And say every word you mean. So, affirmative action reduces the ability of actually skilled people to get jobs because there is a quota based on things like race and sex. So, I mean, I can't call people out, or I can't use names here. So, I know somebody who I have had a conversation with who works for the government who told me that it is absolute bullshit when they go through a hiring period. Because every time they try and hire 6 people, 2 of them have to be from a specific race, and then 2 of them have to be from a specific gender. However, those people, that specific race and that specific gender, are the smallest group of people who are actually applying to this position. So it leaves somewhere near 12 times the number of people who have applied to fight for 2 positions, while the very few people who applied are fighting for 4 positions. And that completely cuts out things like your actual qualifications. As long as you meet the minimum, your qualifications don't matter after that. Unless you are of 2 specific categories.
Yeah. It's of my opinion that I don't think that race, gender, or religion, or anything that could allow your employer to be biased against or for you, I don't think any of that stuff should be put in a job application. I think it should be literally just on merit.
Yeah, so they can narrow down the group from merit, and then they can interview them after that.
Yeah.
And I understand there are some things that can be gray areas that come in between afterwards. So, say some guy doesn't like black people, and he narrowed down the hiring process to 6 people or 5 people, and 3 of the people that he picked were black, and 2 of them were white. And the 2 white people, say it's a sales job. The 2 white people were like kind of nerdy and awkward and not super sociable and had a hard time in situations that would be important during a sales thing, or during a sales job. And 2 of the black people were absolutely amazing at it. He could choose based on race simply because he didn't like black people that the 2 worst candidates would be the ones who got the job. So I understand where you're coming from on that angle. People can definitely be biased, and people can definitely be shitty. However, I think the capitalist system has actually fairly well taken accountability of that and fixed it, because that guy answers to somebody. The guy who's hiring those people, he answers to somebody. And if his numbers suck because the people below him's numbers suck, he's going to be the one to lose his job before anyone fucking else does. I went through 3 managers at Ryder. Shit, shouldn't have said that one. I went through 3 managers at Ryder. We were having a rough time. The shop I worked at was having a rough time. And it had a lot to do with the base level guys. I never saw a single base level guy get fired. However, I went through 3 managers because they were accountable and responsible for the people they chose to fucking hire. So if you hire shit people because you're biased and would rather take the low-level people that suck at their job because of their race or gender, then it will come up and you will have to pay for it. And I'm not sure exactly how they got along after that, but I'm pretty sure it was hard times. So, like I said, the capitalist system has, if you allow it to work the way it's supposed to, the capitalist system will take care of things like that. Because it values money over the color of your skin. It doesn't care who you are, as long as you make them green.
Yeah.
Which can be problematic in certain instances. Not that any come to mind right now, but it can be problematic.
Equality of opportunity will always be better than equality of outcome.
Which is an interesting thing because I can't think of a business right now that isn't an equal opportunity business.
Yeah.
However, they all have to abide by things like affirmative action. Well, not all of them, but large portions of major companies and stuff like that have to abide by affirmative action.
Yep. I don't think someone who has merit should be disqualified by someone without merit because of something that they either identify as or did not choose. Merit based only. That's the way to go.
However, you can break it down to a different aspect. Maybe there are jobs short people aren't good for. Now, this is completely different from race, because race has no standing on how good you are at something. But there are definitely certain jobs, because that's I'm kind of playing devil's advocate, but not. You don't get to pick how short you are or how tall you are. There are definitely tunnel rats in Vietnam. I would so much rather have a short one than a tall one. He would be way better at his job. I can't think of a job that... this is kind of going against my own opinion.
Are you heightist?
But I might be a little heightist. Tall people, tall, stronger, more genetically muscular people, probably way better at security. Which is kind of going against me because I'm shooting for a security job right now. But there are factors that you don't get to choose that can influence whether you're good at something or not. I would say for the most part, age, sex, race have absolutely nothing to do with that.
Yep.
Absolutely nothing to do with that. Except for maybe sex on certain levels. Women are way better at being sympathetic.
Don't put anybody in a box.
On average, at least to your face, women are better at being sympathetic. I'll give them that. They have that on us. Which
he said the words.
Don't crucify me. Women are better at that. But it also comes down to a personal level because there are, it's a standard deviation kind of thing.
Yeah.
They might be better on an average, but it doesn't mean certain men aren't better at it than certain women.
There's always exceptions to the rule. Always. And there always will be.
And the rule's kind of gray to begin with.
Yeah. So yeah, we're going to get demonetized, removed from platform, and...
Demonetized? More monetized to begin with.
True.
We're going to get removed from the platforms, more like what's going to happen.
No knock rated. What?
Over this? Jesus, you've lowered your standards. It's like because of affirmative action.
I mean, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to touch one more thing on affirmative action.
Okay.
How long until ideology becomes a part of affirmative action? This is where it becomes genuinely dangerous. Because, everything has good intentions, but it doesn't make it not the worst thing in the fucking world. How long until they start hiring law enforcement based on certain pieces of ideology that puts different ideological groups in power?
How long until I can't become a cop because they found this platform during my hiring process? I'm willing to bet it's right now.
I was going to say, I'm not going to lie. If you apply for an enforcement agency and you have the videos that we have out or podcasts that we have out, you will not get accepted.
Yeah. Still gonna try though.
Still gonna try.
I want to see what happens. I really want to see. And if they don't hire me because of my ideology, that's probably a lawsuit.
Well, and it's okay right now because we're not big enough for that to be a problem.
Very true.
Out of all the 45 people who have heard these podcasts, I'm pretty sure very few of them are cops. Or not.
Become the same thing you swore to destroy. I didn't do anything.
Fair enough. So where does that leave us?
We don't have a good segue. What's something that will give us 10 minutes of talking points without making us too mad or getting too... I think age. I think
age restrictions
Yeah.
would be... Because you might be able to easily shut me up about that.
yeah. So, we've talked about this already, but we're gonna go a little bit of a different way with this. Age restrictions on anything. First off, I believe thoroughly that if you're being taxed, you should be able to vote. If you're 15 years old and working out of a coal mine, but that income you make from the coal mine is being taxed, you should be able to vote. So here's a short list of things that you can do, or that you can't do when you're 18 in the United States. You cannot own a handgun. You cannot smoke cigarettes anymore. You cannot use e-cigs, drink alcohol, smoke marijuana, hold public office. You are held liable for all fines. You're liable for child support, civil lawsuits.
Well, you can't be held. This is under 18.
Yeah.
Okay. You can't be held liable for those things. Was that it? They don't
I'm
make you pay
confused.
child support.
I'm
do
confused.
they?
Okay, I was going off the you can't yeah. You can't do. Let's just restart.
Okay, restart.
I confused myself. Okay, you can sign up to join the military or be drafted. You can't own a handgun, smoke cigarettes, use e-cigs, drink alcohol, smoke marijuana, or hold public office. But you can join the military. You can be drafted into the military. You can be forced to pay child support. You can be forced to deal with civil liability. You can be forced to... God, there's so many.
You can go to work and pay taxes.
Yeah. So, basically, they have created a system where you're 18 and you bought alcohol or you bought tobacco. Well, you can be tried. Basically, to sum up their system right now, you can be tried as an adult for being a child.
Yeah, you can go and try to do something like buy tobacco and then get in trouble and be tried as an adult for doing that thing. However, you weren't an adult enough to do that thing.
Yeah. Which is asinine.
So, we've come up with, we've talked about this a good bit, things like age restrictions and stuff like that. We feel like we've come up with a decent system. And sure, it's not fair to everybody because everyone's parents are different and some people's parents don't care, some people's parents care too much. We determined, 16 was the age? Was it 16 or 18 where you become a legal adult and your parents can no longer hold your rights from you?
I would say 16.
Okay, so what we determined was your parents get to fucking decide what you are allowed to do until the age of 16. So 16 is the minimum age for everything. You want to drink, smoke, drive, whatever the fuck. 16 is the minimum age for those things.
And that's if your parents haven't given you those rights at
Already.
12.
Yes, because we are not all equal. Because if everyone was equal humanitarianly, if everyone was the same exact fucking person, then you wouldn't have to make a law that says you can't sell tobacco to this person. Because everyone would agree that no one should be smoking cigarettes below this age. So we are not all equal on that field. And there are people who are more mature and more capable of making decisions for them fucking selves at younger ages. And there are people who you probably need to instill your values on them until they become at least 16.
Yeah. I love how the government has decided that, yes, the human brain is still developing until people are 25 years old, relatively 25 years old. Okay, so your logic is, I can't drink, I can't smoke, I can't do anything that you would deem taboo because my brain is still quote-unquote developing. I shouldn't say quote-unquote. That's actually a thing. Because my brain is still developing. How can you expect to make the lifelong decision, the life-changing decision, and possibly the life-ending decision of joining the military at 17? By their logic, I don't have the mental capacity to do that. I don't have the rational thought and critical thinking skills to say, you know what? I want to join the military. I want to serve my country. I want to potentially lose limbs or die or have awful brain damage where I don't know who I am for the rest of my life. Why is that acceptable?
So what does that say about the character of the government? It says that you are an impressionable person and we don't believe you should be making these decisions yet. However, we are totally okay with putting the impression or taking that same impressionable person and putting our mentality into them through the government.
Yep.
Because, I mean, if you join the Army, that's exactly what it is. That is the goal of basic training. For anyone getting ready to go through it who's already signed up, get ready, because basic training, their goal is to break you down to your core components so they can build you back up again the way they want you. It's not as good as it used to be at doing that, because they're kind of pussifying the rules a little bit.
Yeah.
But that is their goal.
And there is some legitimacy to it. I do believe that people need to be brought down to their core and rebuilt and able to survive and be functioning soldiers in a combat zone. I don't think it should rebuild your political ideology.
No, because that's the same thing with the military, the police, and most government jobs. They do a very similar thing. They break down your core political and ideological beliefs so they can build them up as their own. Every single field of government. That is why there are so many people in the government who support it wholeheartedly no matter what they do. And they justify it no matter what has gone on. We could have committed the fucking Holocaust. And they would fucking justify it somehow. They would look at you and say, oh yeah, I know it looks bad, but they would find a fucking way.
Dude, what the very few Nazis, like true Nazis that are still alive, still partially justify it. The average German soldier, probably not, because they probably didn't understand what was actually happening.
No, they were just
years after. They're like, oh, my country's going to war. I guess I have to fight for this because, you know, I'm young and that's what the state wants me to do. Wink, wink. And then just awful things happen in that regime. So, and it goes the same way with having alcohol laws, tobacco laws. They want to imprison you, to brainwash you at a young age, to rewrite your ideology, to make you conform to the belief system that they want you to have. That's why you can be tried as an adult, as a child.
And that blows my mind. Because, I mean, I went through that.
Yeah.
I mean, I lost part of my rights because of alcohol at 18. 18. At 18, I got caught drinking booze underage. I wasn't driving. I wasn't harming anybody. I was simply making too much... I wasn't even making too much noise. It gets difficult, but I was violating no one's rights. I wasn't even causing a scene or a problem, and I was drinking. And then I got a citation, and I had to go to court for it. And they determined that, you know what? The best way to fix this is to remove his rights for 6 months and force him into slavery because I had to do community service against my will for doing something that harmed nobody. That is slavery. If I don't do this thing, I go to jail? That is slavery. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
This minimum age bullshit is fucked up. Just because you remember your days as a kid and think that I'm not responsible enough because humanity has changed or whatever the fuck your mentality is, because most people in office are way older than me. Because you remember abusing the shit out of substances at my age and doing bad stuff does not mean you can fucking hold me accountable for it. Because you think I'm going to do something bad.
Yeah.
And I haven't.
And like, I know plenty of people who grew up in the 80s and they would go on long road trips with their buddies and drink beer in the car and stuff. And, the officer would just, like, kind of laugh and let them do whatever they want. Why has that mentality changed? Why is that generation damning us because they either got away with it or in situations that were so bad they don't want anyone to do it?
And if they were still here to talk about it, obviously the situation wasn't that bad.
Stop applying your life experiences to my life. Because I will not live the same life as you.
No.
I will not have the same opinion as you.
And I don't want to have the same life as you.
No. Because your life's probably boring.
And your ideology and everything else about you. And it has led you into such a fucking field that you force this shit on everyone else.
Yep.
And generations will fall because of you.
Fuck authoritarianism. In any way, shape, or form.
Social decisions will be made. That's how this needs to pan out. There are definitely certain legal decisions that have to be made. I think we are 10 generations past that. Well, when was the Civil Wars? 4 generations ago?
It was more than that.
Civil War was like somewhere between 4 and 6 generations ago, depending on the lifespan of the people who had you. Somewhere between 4 and 6 generations ago, the last important legal decision was made. Everything past that was a social decision pushed as a legality. And you have fucked us because of it.
Yeah, so I think that's...
But hey, we can go into tactical session now.
Hey, do you have anything you want? I normally head up the tactical stuff. You got anything interesting to say?
I know, I was kind of counting on you to have the tactical stuff this time.
Go into talk about your journey and into becoming more tactical and just better ways to just improve your mindset on things. Mostly not being stubborn.
So, I was raised by a stubborn man, and I believe that has a lot to do with the reason I'm stubborn. So when something new comes out that is sound information, I am still stubborn about it, and I have a hard time moving past it. But I eventually get there. I learn the lessons the hard way, and I figure it out. And eventually I get there. And I've had a lot of different influences in my life that have helped me get to the point where I am at. It just takes fucking time with me. The best thing I could recommend to all the people who are very tactically stubborn-minded.
Fuds.
A lot of them fuds. You definitely have to open your mind up. Because if I looked at me 5 years ago and said, how do I feel about this person? I would be like, he was a fucking moron. He was a stubborn asshat who refused to change his ways because it made him feel more confident and comfortable. It is okay to feel wrong. It is okay to figure out that you're wrong. I'd rather you feel wrong and change it before you figure out that you're wrong. I've gone through some injuries. I've gone through some stupid shit. It took me finally understanding things about tactics and then getting a deployment with the military and looking around and going, what the fuck are we doing here? This is literally me 5 years ago. And then coming back and going, holy shit. Everyone is me 5 years ago. No one makes good decisions. They make systematic decisions based on an old system. And we all have to take into account new information. That's broad, but that's a tough one for me to go into a specific.
That's not even a tactical perspective, but it applies to the whole gun world so well. Whenever you're dealing with firearms and just honestly anything in life, you need to check your ego at the door. Whether it be a training class, whether it be a college class, you need to check your ego at the door, because no one in the room's thinking about anyone but themselves. They're certainly not thinking about you. So if you have a bad ideology and they correct you, everyone in the class is going to move on. No one's going to think about you. But you're going to be so stubborn and stuck in your ways that you're going to think about you and how that guy embarrassed you, and you're just going to stay stuck.
And the only way that you're going to make it about you is by continually thinking that way and embarrassing yourself on the same matter 6 or 7 different times. Mm-hmm. Everyone understands not everybody's right all the time. Yeah. You have to understand that the only way to not be embarrassed by that thing is to fix yourself and move on. Or else you will be that guy at the training class or wherever the fuck you are who gets embarrassed 6 times in a row and is known as that guy who can't fucking ever get it. He will never understand. He will never figure it out. You have to be open-minded. This is, at least tactically, I encourage everyone to be open-minded in most fields. There are certain things that are proven to work certain ways, I understand that, but as cultures, as technology, and as everything else increases and changes, you have to increase and change with it. You can't just pick up a fucking 6-shooter and be better than the guy with the AR at 200 meters.
Yeah. The Founding Fathers had literally just witnessed the historical shift from swords and spears and longbows into firearms-based warfare. And they basically invented guerrilla warfare. And they won because of that. They won the Revolutionary War because of that. So...
And they improved on it.
They did.
The Kentucky long rifles and shit like that. They were sniping people and shit at ranges that were blowing people's minds.
You know why? Because the British government couldn't get their mind around change.
Yeah.
You have to be able to adapt based on technology and technique of the modern time frame. I'm sorry, your 5-shot 38 in your pocket, which was the standard for detectives back in the 1970s, is almost worthless now.
Yeah. You have to have a crazy amount of mindset and skill to overcome.
And training.
And training.
Those guns are expert weapons. Like, everyone who's worth a damn now is like, that's an expert weapon, or that's I'm wrestling with a guy, so here's my second or third gun, which is a 38 revolver that I can just push against their body because it doesn't jam.
And just pull the shit out of the trigger.
Yeah, or jam. It doesn't go out of battery if pressed against their body, not jam. Revolvers, semi-automatics jam slightly more regularly than revolvers. But when revolvers fail, it's almost always catastrophic.
Yeah, and that's not something you'll be able to fix in the quarter second between decision making.
Yep.
I mean, that's like if your fucking single action or single fire break action rifle doesn't work, you are up the fucking creek.
Yeah. Because
you have probably just had a catastrophic failure. They're so simple that the only way they break is catastrophically.
If you're going to swear by a revolver, just go ahead and carry an 1851 single-action black powder revolver. Because, I mean, if they're reliable,
then aren't they all?
Yep. You know, technology didn't advance that much, could it?
No, we're on the fucking exponential curve now. Y'all were on the, slow increase then. Well, not y'all. There's no one here from the 1800s. But
if there is, dude, props.
Yeah, because that means...
I am so sorry.
We're about to go into 1920. You're about to have lived 120 years. That's crazy.
No, even if they're born in 1899, first off, I am so sorry that you've had to see the world come to what it is. I'm sorry that you're listening to this, because I'm sure the last thing you want to hear in your life is a bunch of guys getting mad about how bad things are and how bad things are getting and what you're leaving. So I'm so sorry.
But I know you carry a striker fired slide action 9mm because you're not a fucking idiot and you change with the times.
You got this guy who fought in the Civil War carrying a Zev Tech Glock 19 with a Trichicon RMR. Yo, Flood!
Listening.
I wish we had this!
Even better, listening to us for validation.
You're good, man. I respect the shit out of you. Thank you. But, yeah, just change with the... Don't get stuck in your ways. Change with the times. Adapt your mindset. Adapt your tactics. Leave your ego at the door. And don't be a prick and shove your opinion down everyone's throat like we do.
Here's a good piece on this. If you change with the times, you might be around for the next time they change.
Mm.
If you don't, hello, British Army.
Yeah. But I think that wraps this one up. Guys, it's been a blast. This is the Refounding Fathers. As always, question everything we say, but also question everything you hear in general. Push the fight.
Pray for
Freedom. This is the Refounding Fathers signing out. God bless.